Hello everyone and welcome to OnCrawl's SEO in Orbit webinar series, the first ever series sending SEO into space. Of course, it's not actually the first time SEO has ever been into space, and more about that in a second. But SEO in Orbit is a series of webinars running through till the 24th of June, taking you on a trip through the galaxy of technical SEO. What we want you to do, hopefully, is watch the webinars, and after each webinar, please join us on Twitter to vote for the top tip that you get by the guests we've got. We've got an incredible guest today, Julie Joyce. We're going to send all of the top tips and the best 3 tweets with technical SEO advice into space for real on June the 27th. I don't know how that's going to work, but we're going to keep you posted on that. So today's SEO in Orbit is about internal links making the world go round, and we'll take questions at the end of the webinar. You can ask them at any time in the webinar chat box or on Twitter using the hashtag OnCrawl in Orbit. So please do. We've got Rebecca standing by to be able to field the questions for us, which would be great. My name's Dixon Jones. Some of you will have known about me from my brand ambassador days and Majestic days. And I have had some experience with space. We we printed the 3D visualization of the internet on the International Space Station. If you ever want to hear about that, you can go to dixonjones.com, and there's a TEDx talk on it on the homepage there. But don't do it. Please don't do it until the end of the webinar, because Julie will be very upset. So we've got a brilliant person to field the questions today. Julie is from Linkfish Media, specializes in link building. I've known Julie for, I think, well over 10 years, isn't it, Julia? Why don't you say a little bit about yourself and how we met?
Okay. I have been in SEO since about 2002. And at the time, I was working for an agency who kind of just, their SEO team dissolved. So I had an English degree and I was a programmer, so they kind of grabbed me. And then I just kind of was thrown into it. And right after that, my husband got recruited to be a consultant for a gambling company in London. And then I ended up coming to work there too. So I think right after that, when I was in London, I guess 20of is when Dixon and I met, probably at a pub.
Most likely.
An industry event, though, I'm sure.
Of course. It's always
very professional. Yeah. So I'm just doing links. I mean, that wasn't my initial specialty. I just kind of was like a technical SEO or a generalist and did PPC, all kinds of things. But now it's just links.
Yeah, and in such competitive areas as well is great. So we're going to be talking about internal links, and we want to start with making sure that everybody has an idea of a couple of the definitions. Firstly, the definition between internal and external links, and secondly, a definition of PageRank. So, Julie, what would you say the difference is between internal and external links? Just for those that don't know.
Right, of course. Internal links would be a link like within the same domain. So a link from your homepage to your About Us, something like that. Whereas external links are links from a different domain outside of your own site that are coming into your site.
Right. Okay. So what would you say about just the trick question coming straight in here, Julie? And what would you say a page from, a link from onepage.blogspot.com to another page.blogspot.com, would you say that's a different domain or the same domain?
That is a very good question, actually. And, I don't see that many that are on a Blogspot like that, but we used to not be able to really measure anything because we'd get only like the blogspot.com metrics when clients wanted something like that. So we always considered that to kind of be on the same domain, even though it would be on a different subdomain. But those links never seem to be all that powerful from what we saw.
Okay. And secondly, PageRank. How do you see PageRank?
I think you can probably add a lot to this, but PageRank is how the pages on the web are viewed in terms of their importance, like according to the links that point into them. And we don't. Oh, go ahead.
No, you carry on. Sorry.
Well, we don't get that. We used to get the public measure of that. So we had toolbar PageRank, which a lot of people focused on, but we don't have that anymore. So I know several people think that it just doesn't exist anymore, which is not true.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that's true at all.
I see it that way.
I checked that with Gary just a few months ago. It's still in the system for sure. And I think it's a very interesting because it's such a core metric for Google that I
Right.
think a lot of their other algorithms and ideas and thoughts, because they can easily pull out, well, they can easily pull out the page rank of any individual page. I think that it probably permeates into more of the other algorithms than we perhaps see, or perhaps even the engineers see.
Right.
So yeah. So and also, of course, PageRank is done on the whole web basis as well. But people don't always realize that PageRank applies to internal links just as much as external links, which is why I think PageRank is important at a site level, and why we're hopefully going to talk about it today in the context of internal links. So go straight on to the questions. Teaching, saying the obvious, but links important to SEO. Are they important to SEO still, and why?
Definitely. I think they're always going to be, because Google's algorithm is kind of built on links, and links are how, we move around the web. It's how search engine crawlers find content. And I can't imagine that anything can really replace that right now.
Okay, and more specifically, what do you feel makes internal links important for SEO in particular?
I think they're under your control, which I like, because you can't always control who links to you, obviously. And you can, set up an internal linking structure so that your most critical pages can get more attention. Hopefully they can rank better, they can be seen, things like that. So I like it for that. I just think, if you have a good internal link structure, also people are going to be happy with your site and navigate through it and find all your content, and your bounce rate hopefully is going to be pretty good. They're not just going to immediately leave because they don't see what they want because they can't find it easily.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you feel about the words, authoritative link? Whether it's internal or external, but and what's the difference between an authoritative link and a non-authoritative link?
That term, it's funny because I use that term, and thinking about defining it, I don't really think I can actually define it. I think different tools have tried to measure it. So they'll have, a lot of people also, they get confused. They think domain authority is like PageRank to them, just to give you an example, especially because it's got that authority. So that's the authority of this link. I think that's very hard to measure, because what's authoritative to a certain group isn't going to be authoritative to another group either.
Okay.
I think it's just hard to pin that down.
It is. It is hard. Well, yeah. Obviously, it is pinned down because Google pins it down and makes a determination. But it's hard for us to pin down, possibly. But I think you know when you know, don't you?
I think you do.
Yeah, and maybe it's an experience thing. I don't know. Okay, now we're talking about internal linking predominantly here today, and a good linking structure on your site transmits popularity or page importance from important pages to the targets of links on those pages, so where they're linking to. What do you believe are the top criteria that a good internal linking strategy should meet?
I think it should be logical. And I think you need to think about where a user will go, where you want them to end up, and make sure, the navigation, the strategy, everything follows that. So if you want to kind of funnel a user into buying something, for example, you don't want to give them a billion opportunities to go somewhere else, and maybe they'll land on a page that links elsewhere.
Okay, so things like crawlability, coherence with a marketing funnel. Do you think that's as important as trying to get the anchor text right? In the context of SEO, I suppose you're really thinking about, do you use internal anchor text to help rank around particular keywords, or have you given up on the word ranking these days?
I don't think about it as much in terms of like ranking for internal, but I think you can do it. But you don't want to see an About Us page that's called something that's like 10 different words. You don't want to have like crazy anchors. The kind of things that I think I would do when I'm building external links, I doubt I would do internally.
Yeah. Okay. And what about if you've got, for example, products on your website? Well, you've stopped lines of products, and so you've now got content on your website which is redundant, for want of a better word. What would you do with that kind of stuff?
Well, I've had a lot of debate myself about that, because some people say to 301 it, maybe you 301 to the home page, but then I understand that's kind of confusing for a user in a lot of ways. So I kind of like a 404 page that will just say this product no longer exists. You might want to visit maybe these other products, just so you're not like just sending them to the homepage, freaking them out, or saying this doesn't exist. Because if you say this doesn't exist, but there are no links to stay on that site, they're probably just going to go to another website.
Okay. What about a 301 to a generic page saying that product's now out of stock? So it then ends up as a 200 response. So Google still gets there, and then you have some kind of logical menu structure on that that final page.
I think that's great too. Just keep them on your site if you can.
Yeah. And the other thing on internal links that I think might be helpful to users is if you go overboard on the internal link structure, is there a danger that you end up with pages that are orphaned, that you don't have any content, any links to? And is that a problem for SEO, do you think, or do you think that's a problem for people?
I think it's a problem for both. And if there are orphan pages, if there's no links pointing to a page internally, then you're not going to get any of the PageRank flow. So if somebody does happen to find it, good, but I don't think orphan pages are good at all.
Yeah. Okay. So what about if those orphan pages then get, I suppose they could still get links from outside the website, so they could contribute to the overall PageRank website.
Yeah.
But probably orphan page is a bad idea.
Yeah, I think you need to be able to, any page, I think you should be, a critical page especially, should be able to get to it from the navigation in some way.
And how would you find those pages?
Well, you could do, there are various tools, I think, that I'm not sure exactly what does what.
OnCrawl has got to do it, of course. Yeah.
They do, yeah, exactly. But in terms of like the other tools, I don't know exactly where you'd go to look. But yeah. I think it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, okay. So is there any solid, safe strategies that anyone can use when they're doing link building, internal or not? Is link building inherently dangerous?
I think it is and it isn't. Internal is probably safer because it has been said that, it's more about the number of internal links pointing to a page. That kind of matters, which is slightly different from when we think about external links, where it's more of the quality of those pages. Also, it's not just the quantity.
Okay. So so going back to the question though, what's a safe strategy for link building?
I think the safest strategy is probably not to overdo anything. So, I'll get clients that say, can you give us 50 guest posts a month? And that's like the only thing they do. And I think that's not good. And not just because of guest posts, but I wouldn't recommend they did 50, directory submissions a month. I think you just need to vary it. Maybe if you do a guest post, then, do one, go try to write, like I write for different websites, do that. Maybe somebody can interview you. Just try to keep it varied so you don't have like a big giant footprint that screams, look at me, I'm trying to manipulate Google.
Yeah, avoid the red flags.
Not that safe. I don't think I wouldn't say anything is completely safe because you never know what's going to get added to the link schemes.
Yeah, that's always true, isn't it? Basically, the algorithms are going to change. That's the one constant. The algorithms are going to change, or your competitors are going to change, and one or the other. Yeah. And so if a customer says, "I just want safe," that's kind of kind of like, yeah, it's a difficult thing to say, because if they want safe and be at the top, then being at the top is by definition pushing the boundaries, really. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So are you a big fan of using nofollow on internal links? Another trick question for you to throw in.
No, I don't really see any need for it.
Right. I think I'd agree with you, but it's certainly something that a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, got a lot of attention as something that was interesting, and I think that it's something that doesn't really work very well as a general rule, but it might have done once, but I think it did. I'm not really a fan.
Yeah, I think it did, and then it's like everything with SEOs, it works, and then everybody goes, "Oh, this works. Here's a good exploit."
I think one of the things that happens on using nofollows on internal linking anyway is that people don't really understand how PageRank flows around a website very well, and so they assume that if they take away a link from page A to page B, they haven't really understood that there's 100 other menu links that are going around that are doing the same. They're pretty much pushing the information around anyway. Yes. So it's very hard to to get that. Would have been very hard to get that right, even if it was working as a strategy, I think. But
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so you're not a fan of no following on internal links.
No.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Okay. What about some of the indications that show that a site could profit from internal linking or make improvements out of internal linking? What kind of signals would say this looks like an internal linking problem?
Well, I think if you have an internal page that's a critical page and it doesn't rank well, that's you definitely want to look. And you may have some great external links coming in, but then you look and there are only maybe 2 internal links to that page. And that to me would say, we could obviously make some improvements and get more critical pages to link. And OnCrawl actually has a really cool tool, like we were talking about earlier, that it's like their internal PageRank called Inrank.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a client today because we have this page that, we think it should rank, everything looks great. And then I look and it's got like 2% of the in-rank flow. And pages that are not nearly as critical have like 16, 17.
Yeah.
So right there, I can look at that and say, well, here, we can definitely make some improvements here.
So you think one of the best things to do is to look at things, pages or phrases or phrases or pages that are underperforming and
Yes.
use that as the identifier, because that's probably the sign that they need a bit more of a kick from links.
Yeah, I think so. And I think if you do an internal site search for specific keywords, like if you had a page on dog grooming and you search for dog grooming, that page doesn't pop up internally, I think that would show you probably have some work to do too.
All right, so an internal search engine, yeah, okay,
Yeah, yes.
a good way to, yeah, that's a pretty good tip. Use your own search engine, just use the WordPress search thing and see if it works. Yeah, okay. So, what kind of metrics do you use to audit or measure the effectiveness of a link building strategy? Do you have that sort of barometer of what's working, or do you take internal linking to that level of process?
No, I don't usually, because a lot of the times clients, unfortunately, I'm kind of like one little bit of a linking strategy for a lot of my clients. So, they let me know how things are going, how sales are, and that's kind of how they view things. Is everything going well overall? Then they're happy with the link building. And they look at, rankings and traffic and things like that. But, a lot of times with the links that get built, it's hard to, maybe they don't send traffic, maybe they improve rankings, but you can't necessarily tie that to specific links.
Okay. So sometimes, so we mentioned about no following to try and affect PageRank sculpting. Perhaps we should define PageRank sculpting for a few of the viewers. I mean, have you got a definition for PageRank sculpting, or do you want to throw one at me?
I think it's the PageRank expert. I think it's just an attempt to funnel PageRank to specific pages. And I think, like you said, it's kind of a misunderstanding where you think if you had, say, 10 points to give out and you had 10 links, followed 5 of them, that each of the other 5 would get those 2 points.
Yeah.
There's a very simplistic view of that, which is just not true. So I think it's just trying to get, no follow links to something like the About Us page or the contact page, so they don't get any kind of value.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you're not really a great believer in trying to push that PageRank too much. It's more about seeing the stuff that's underperforming, try and get more links into those pages to boost those up, and the rest will follow on, right?
Right. Hopefully.
That makes sense. And it's a good strategy because you can see if there's an upside. Well, I guess what you can't do with that strategy then is suddenly see what the detriment is on the other side, because presumably if something goes up, something else somewhere else goes down.
Right, and you have to be careful with that. So if you're going to take away any links, for example, you want to make sure they're links to the pages that aren't as critical.
Yeah. Okay. What next question I got down here? What are some of the advantages of linking to or from pages with a lot of influence on your site?
Well, I think pages, if they're influential, hopefully they'll stay that way. If you continue to do links, and then anything an influential page links to on your site should hopefully get some benefit.
Okay, so I mean, how do you think links interact with freshness? Do you think pages published or updated recently? Do you think they've got more or less weight than pages that are evergreen, for example?
That's another good question. And I think about that a lot when I'm building external links. Like, is it better to get something from new content or try to update something old? I think Google likes fresh content. And I think when you have it, and you make sure they know about it, like you're linking to it properly, it's in your sitemap, all of that, I think it can make them think, well, this is a site that's relevant, it's being updated, so this is a good site. I think it makes it look a little bit better than if it's a site that was never really updated, didn't have any fresh content.
Okay, that's kind of great and sad that that you can build something that you think might be really really good, and then
It is sad.
a year later Google thinks that somebody else that wrote something last week has got something better. Effort. There's no such thing as the only constant is change again. What about, and talking about change, what about seasonality? I mean, if you're selling umbrellas and you're selling sombreros, do you think there's merit in changing your internal link structure based on your seasons? And how would you go about doing that?
I think there is. I think it's good if you go ahead and have, like, say, a broad category page for these different seasons or seasonal products. And, I think it's good to go ahead and have them before the season. And maybe even if you say, we've got some content coming, something like that. But it's good if you, like, let's say if you were in North Carolina and you sold swimming pools and hot tubs. They're usually kind of different seasons. So you wouldn't expect swimming pools to be sold a lot in December. So
No.
if I were those people, I would probably not have a big prominent link to swimming pools, on my top nav. I'd probably have that to hot tubs.
Yeah.
And then change that out. Right.
And I guess for the user, there's a real logic there as well, because if you can use your homepage to great effect on that basis. So if you've got your homepage and you've got your big offers, your seasonal offers right at the top of your page, you're not going to put the hot tubs there in the summer, and you're not going to put the swimming pools there in December. So you can make use of that homepage very very effectively, I imagine, to change the internal linking structure, and that probably trickles down pretty effectively, I would imagine. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we got a couple of little last questions before we go to some Q&As for you, Julie.
Okay.
Firstly, have you got a favorite technical trick?
I would say to check the robots.txt file, because that is so ridiculous that so many people have it blocked. I actually recently did some quick link audits for a group that I was doing a webinar for, and I think like 3 out of the first 5 I looked at, their robots.txt files were blocked. And they said,
Really?
no, I don't get any search traffic. It's like the developer just doesn't remove that, so it's disallowing everything.
So you're saying that the robots.txt was blocking Googlebot, or they were blocking the ability, so they couldn't even see the robots.txt file?
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot before, and if Google can't read the robots.txt file, then it's going to assume that absolutely it can't see it.
You want to make sure they can crawl your site.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not really a trick, but it seems like so common that developers leave this in, and then people with websites, if they're not that savvy, they're not going to think to check, and even if they do check, they might not have any idea what it means.
Another thing that I take on, that is very similar, but people don't often see, is it's worth running your looking at the site through a bot's eyes, because it's quite often the HT access or something else that's blocking the ability for the bot to go and see the site. So it may be that you can't see in robots.txt that Google's being blocked, but but you can see it by trying to crawl the page as Google using a screaming frog or an online HTTP header tool that can allow you to change user agent. Yeah. So okay, or I'm probably OnCrawl. I don't know if OnCrawl allows you to change user agents. Okay. What about your least favorite technical question that you often get asked? And please don't let it be one I've already asked.
Well, the thing everybody asks is, how long is it going to take for me to rank?
All right.
There's no way I can tell them that. But they all ask, how much is it going to cost? How many months before I rank? And what's it going to take to get me to position number 1? And I can't answer any of those questions.
Right. Okay.
I guess I could, but they wouldn't always be accurate. But I don't like that, because every site is different. And a lot of people say, my competitor's doing this, and we're all doing the same thing, and they're not doing the same thing. Their sites are different. They may have different links. They may have better links. They're doing something better. So no two sites are the same. So I can't give those answers.
And you're working in difficult industries a lot, aren't you? So so going from zero to hero is can be a big challenge, I'd imagine.
Yes.
yeah. So you must get some disappointed people along the way at that point.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, we get some disappointed people, definitely.
Hey,
We
but they're
get
gamblers, right? You know.
yes, but the good thing, I mean, they're all very nice about it. So, I don't go around promising people anything. So I think even if they're disappointed, they have been warned that I can't give them a guarantee. So at
Okay.
least I
All
have
right.
that.
Okay. Right. If you've got any questions, please pop them up in the chat box now. Just a couple of little things before we get on. Your favorite Google bot? Have you got a favorite Google bot?
No. Do you have one?
No, I don't know really. It's on my questions list.
Right. No, I don't have any idea.
Good old fashioned Google bot.
I'll
That'll
take
do
them
me.
all.
I mean, I
Right.
guess I used to like being able to go into the Google Search Console and fetch as Google, but I think,
Mhm.
have they just killed that on the new Search Console? I don't know. But
I
fetching
don't
as
know.
Google was kind of useful, but I'd rather go and use something else to crawl it, I suppose. So, I don't
Right.
know favorite. Anyone that waves to me, that'd be fine. Oh, no. I tell you what I do have is John Muller once gave me a little, I gave him a 3D version of the internet, and a printer, and he gave me a 3D printed out little Google bot. So that's my favorite.
Oh,
It's
that's cute.
it's a physical one. And what's your favorite planet, Julie?
Mars.
Mars. Any
Yeah.
reason?
It's red. I mean,
It's
I
red.
don't, yeah. I'm not, so I was saying, I'm really excited to go into space. I don't know that much about space. I never thought I would go. I actually had it on a list of things I would never do. One was go into space, seriously.
Okay.
So I don't, Mars is really the only planet I know anything at all about other than Earth.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds as good a planet as any, really. Okay. Do we have any questions here? We've got a question here from David Denton. He who wants a comment on, I don't know if it's his strategy or a strategy. I won't give it in. He says, I run a legacy, so a 20 years old site, quite large, 50,000 articles, a media site. I've got a list of target keywords for which we're generating new articles. So they're creating articles based around a keyword strategy. So part of the publish strategy is to add internal links to juice the new articles beyond the basic automated homepage category or whatever. So rather than just having the menus, he's linking to those pages beyond that. And the process is to search on the site. Site colon, so I'm presuming he's going to search on Google, site colon, their domain and keyword. I quite like this idea, and use the results as a list of the 3 to 5 articles to place links to the new article. So what he's doing is he's putting up a new article, then seeing where those keywords that he wants to rank for are already involved in it on his website,
Yes.
using Google's site colon command, and then he's making sure he's got internal links to go into there. Good strategy, bad strategy? What do you think?
I think it's perfect. I think that's absolutely what I would recommend would be the best thing to do. So that is absolutely perfect.
I think that's a great idea.
Brilliant idea.
To be honest with you, and thanks very much for bringing it up.
Yeah,
He carries on going on, and he goes on to just see the rest of his question because the first part was so good. I also use a SERP overlay tool to try and select articles that have very high external links, very high external domains linking count, high domains linking count, external. So basically, I think he's looking at domains that have lots of external links and skip articles that have little to none. We need to do some pruning. Comments on this process. Did that make sense? Did I read that right?
I'm trying to get that all in my mind.
Okay, I'm gonna read it out again because I'm reading it on the screen. You can take it in and answer it, and then I'll figure out, whether I got an answer as well. I also use a SERP overlay tool to try to select articles that have high external domains linking count and skip articles that have little to none. We need to do some pruning. Comments on this process? Any improvements?
Are those articles? That's what I'm confused about.
I guess he's
Inside
saying.
the site?
I'm guessing he's saying that he's looking for websites that he might approach or try and get links from, but he's discounting ones that overly link out. I think.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I think if they're good websites, I would still probably approach them, because some people, they do just excessively link out. But if it could also still be good for traffic, if it's a really good article. So I'd say I'd prioritize ones that didn't link out as much, I guess.
Yeah. I guess another way to look at that is Wikipedia links out an awful lot.
Right. That's very true.
Who wouldn't want the link?
Right, you want a link there.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
true.
Even if it's no followed. Okay. Another question from Robert. What is your view on how Google deals with JavaScript links? And in your opinion, what's the best way of tackling a site with this way of linking?
I never run into that. I mean, that's something that I just don't have a lot of experience with. I normally just find, sites I deal with just straight up links.
Oh, really?
Links.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I found a number of sites that where the menus were JavaScript links, and I think that's coming back a little bit more now with personal web apps. There's a lot of times with the sort of the modern kind of website where you can, on a personal web app, you can be wandering around the web app and you're actually on the same URL, which can cause some problems. So you can have different content, which in your head to a human looks very, very different, but to a crawler seems very similar. But I mean, Google has certainly been getting a lot better at analyzing and JavaScript in general, and jumping through the problem of analyzing JavaScript links. But it used to be definitely a problem. What is a different thing though is that JavaScript links are not analyzed at the same time as the original crawl. So what Google does is, I guess I'm talking to Robert now, is it will go and crawl the site and all the links, and it will do JavaScript analysis of web pages at a different time in its process of trying to understand how the web works. So you could wait maybe a week or two before it understands the JavaScript links these days, but that's a lot better than 5 years ago, where it really didn't understand very much at all. So I think you're right. Best practice websites would try and avoid JavaScript links, especially if they're trying to make them very, very easy for search engines to see. Because Google's not the only search engine out there, of course. So,
right. Good answer.
Okay, we've got time for one more question, I think. So I'm going to take this one from Seppo. What kind of internal linking strategy fits for a news site that only has news, no topic pages whatsoever?
That's a hard one. I would think news could still be divided into topics.
That was my logic as well. It's the first thing that came into my head there is you must have topics, and if you don't have topics, then I guess what you can do is you could use tags. So at the bottom of each page, think about the effective topics that you've got that news article covers, and then you can have a web page out there that effectively links to all of the pages that have that particular topic. So you're effectively creating topics on the fly, with a sort of tag kind of solution.
Yeah.
Okay. One quick one. If this one's a fast answer, okay. Well, yes. Okay. Only answer this if it's quick. Here's one last one from Jenny. What turns you away fastest when someone requests a backlink from you?
Oh, God. The main thing is when they say you have a great blog, because I don't have a blog. And I don't have anywhere on my site for content like that. And people say, I love your writing. And there's no writing of mine on my site other than, the content of the site, what we do, things like that. So I automatically know they haven't looked at the site.
Fantastic. That's a good answer. Okay, thanks, Julie. It's been great having you. Time flies, and so everybody else, please don't forget to vote for Julie's best tip from the webinar on Twitter. The hashtag is OnCrawl in orbit. hashtag OnCrawl in orbit. Thanks for traveling with us today through this corner of technical SEO space. Swing by. So this is Rebecca's. This is sort of not a phrase that I'd use as an Englishman. Come by OnCrawl.com and try a free trial. Please do. There's free trials up at OnCrawl, and join for the next episode of SEO in Orbit on the 29th of May for smart SEO for smartphone browsers. And that's a guest that's really also incredibly well known and has been around a long time in the industry, Cindy Crum. So hope you'll all come see that. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.